Hey guys, this is Faster U4 brought to you by FitLab, Tailwind Nutrition, Biomax and Capital Cycles. If you're a cyclist and you want to go faster, then let's giddy up. Yeah guys, get it on. Alright, this episode is especially brought to you by CrampFix. This is insurance against cramp. You can just stick in your pocket. And it's scientifically validated to actually work. I tried it on Saturday and it saved my ass. All right, you're going to go to 022.co.nz. That is ZEROTWENTY, the number 2.co.nz. You're going to hit CrampFix. When you check out, you're going to enter the code FITLAB10, capital F, capital I, capital T, capital L, capital A, capital B, 10. I'm surprised I got through that. And you're going to get 10% off your order. Stick it in your pocket. It's insurance. If you get cramp, nail it back. Worst taste you will ever experience. On the plus side, your cramp will disappear. It saved me on Saturday. I'm not kidding. Listen to the episode. I'll describe what happened. It's actually got an evidence base for its efficacy. Okay? It's better than homeopathy any day. Listen to what happened in the episode. And I'll repeat the code at the 10 at the end. The 10 at the end, FitLab 10. Yeah, my riders times. Told me about their weekends as well. By the way, some good rides from a bunch of my riders at the Tour of Wairarapa fun ride as well. So tons of racing going on, tons of guys on bikes, tons of dudes and chicks doing well. It's good times all around. You can see a picture of me there stretching out my hamstring, doing that move. You stretch out your hamstrings, you have your bike in front of you and you stick your foot on top of the saddle and you kind of hold your bike there and you hope that the bike doesn't sort of wiggle or move or sort of move along, because it could be pretty embarrassing and you fall over. You know, it's like, you know, we're doing this like fundamentally wildly uncool thing, dressing up in lycra and riding our bikes around like maniacs. But, you know, we still don't want to look like complete morons. It's quite funny. Standing next to me, Ben Knight, doing some great work for the FitLab team. And by the way, haven't noticed already, of course, it's the new 2019 red base colour FitLab kit, the Castelli Free Aero kit, doing the job. Really nice kit. Guys, I've tried Nino, I've tried Champion System, I've tried Tonelli, I tried Moa, I think it's Moa. And, you know, there's some good pieces and some bad pieces in all of those. But the Castelli one, even though it's hard to deal with these maniacs on the other side of the world, it's just the best kit. It really fits great and feels special to wear. Recommend that Castelli Free Aero kit, both skin suits and the everything, and the I think it's gloves and the shoe covers. It's everything is good. All right, so I guess I'll just whiz through this in case you're interested. This was the Masters 2 weeks ago, so 60k TT. So normally this time of year there's a thing called the Rua 50. That's because it's 50 miles, so it's about 80 k's around the lake, individual time trial. And that's going to happen later in the season, and the reason for that is because of some roadworks or something. So this ride was, again, supposed to be around the lake, but because of those roadworks, so I'm not explaining this very well. In short, they had to take this TT from Martinborough down south to Pirinoa and return, and unfortunately it's only about 60 k's. Although, as it turned out, the weather was very windy that day, and 80k TT, a TT bike in very windy conditions can be tricky. By the way, you know, if you're wondering, I use a disc wheel, rear wheel, and just about almost anything besides, if you had some crazy, I don't know, insane wind, you might want to not have the disc on the back. But guys, it really doesn't matter. Even in super windy conditions, you can run a disc. You know, as your speed increases, the yaw angle, the way the wind hits you, relative to you and your bike, decreases anyway. But because it's on the rear, your weight's over it, it never really seems to be too much of a problem with disc on the rear. It's the front wheel that can get a little bit snatchy from the wind. And even a Zip 404, it's about, I don't know what it is, about 60 millimeters, was still getting grabbed a bit. But the thing you got to do is just sort of relax, and like anything, you know, I think everyone understands this. You just want to relax a bit when the wind does grab it a bit. I know it's easier said than done, especially when you're stretched out on the extensions. But try that as much as you can, relax. And if it is very windy, use a shallower section front wheel, because that's the main problem. Disc is not so bad. Right, so I did 1 hour 26.50, just in 58.4 Ks. A little bit of climbing, funnily enough, some rollers on here, which kind of made it interesting. 375 meters of climbing. On these rollers, just like yesterday's hill climb, you want to, you know, if it's a little roller that's about 30 seconds, maybe even a minute, you just want to bring yourself up to about VO2 max power. For me, that's maybe about 420 watts, 430, 440. That's all right. And then the idea is that you're going to get a little recovery on the downside of the hill, assuming there's the downside on the other side, where you can freewheel or soft pedal a bit and sort of even it out to roughly a threshold effort. Threshold really where you should be sitting for something like this. So total 1537 kilojoules. I'm going to call that maybe a 5 hamburger ride. We did an average of 295 watts. It's a little harder. Effective power 300 watts. So it's about where I want it to be, maybe 10 watts lower than really where I want it to be. And that's because the wind blows you and then you sort of lose pedaling momentum for a bit. You know, you're sort of concentrating on steadying yourself rather than putting out smooth power. Also the rollers probably affected that power a little bit, but ultimately power was fine. Aiming for about 310. Got 300. 310 based on, you know, it's like, when you think about threshold power or FTP, it's not really, there's kind of lots of different ways of looking at it. Look, I won't get into it, I've talked about it before, but in a long TT, in that position, for that length, you're going to really be aiming a lot lower, 20-30% lower than your actual maybe tested FTP in controlled conditions on a hill climb in an upright position. A lot lower. If you don't do that, you'll burn out super quick. Look, most of the ride was kind of as I described. Windier actually near the start finish than it was closer to the coast, which was weird. So I can't wait for the win. I think Jake Polly second, who's got a great position, by the way. My position's pretty good, but I really like the way Jack looks on the bike. A good rider. I don't know anything about him. I think he's got a Pommy accent. Maybe he's come here recently. I don't know. Good on you, Jack. And I think Mike Gregory pulling in a solid third, something like that, my rider. So and I don't know, maybe the sort of the learning thing, because it happened for me as well. I started this ride, I was like, oh shit, you know, it's very hard to, everyone loves that sensation of being in a TT, being at target power, really being able to sort of smoothly get into a good rhythm. And of course that rhythm gets broken by wind. And the thing I shouted at Mike when I went past was perseverance. As the great poet's Hatebreed once said, perseverance is the key. And even if you do get, you know, your concentration a little bit, you know, interrupted by wind or anything else that happens on the road, concentrate and persevere. Let it come back to you. I hear a lot of riders talk about having their perseverance or their concentration knocked, and it sort of upsets their rhythm, not just TTs but road races and stuff as well. You know, it's like that part where you go to work in an office and someone says, your boss says something weird to you and it kind of is in your mind, but then you've got a sales meeting to go to. Well, you can't just sit there and obsess about it. You have to do your job, and you have to do that meeting or talk to that person or whatever it is. It's the same on your bike. Just go and do your job. All right, that's my thoughts about the TT. Let's look at the race on Saturday. It's a little more interesting. So this is race 4 of the North Island Team Series. Let's break it down. This is a course, two main features. The return climb up Dreyer's Rock Road at about the 3/4 mark is normally quite decisive, but it really wasn't on this race. The most decisive one on Saturday was the climb up Kaka'amu Road. I'm probably butchering that, but you know what I mean. A short climb at the end, very high power, and it's often a lot of guys, because of where the race is in the series, and maybe partly because of the course, not that challenging to break it up. A lot of guys come into the final sort of 2-3k climb, and it just goes to absolute pieces on here. And that's kind of what happened. So let's just run through stats for you. 2:05 moving time, 82.6 k's. Climbing, see 551 meters, not that much, but sort of consolidated in 2 major spots. 1767 kilojoules, again, I don't know, 5 hamburger ride, maybe 6. Speed of 39.5, so we went hanging around. Good conditions. 94 RPM on the cadence, that's good. So an average power of 234, that's pretty low. An EP of 294, quite a difference. So you can see, it's like, from that you might read into it that there was long periods of quite safe, quite consolidated riding from a lot of riders, quite a lot of teamwork. Not tons of major attacks from most riders, and but then of course short periods of very high power, and that's why the normalized versus the actual power has quite a disparity there. Not a hard race at all really, except for the final. So let's have a look at what happened. I mean, in short, in my grade, Brendan McGrath broke away very early with Dave Rowlands and Dave Weaver from for GP, and Dave Weaver from Wheelworks, so 2 GP riders, Wheelworks rider. And really, when I looked at the Strava flybys, it just consolidated a nice 30-second lead on the bunch for most of the course. That was it. Dave Rowlands dropped back to the bunch, presumably having burned a few matches, to let Dave Weaver and Brendan McGrath go up the road from there. The idea being for Brendan to take the win, to consolidate his lead in the series. And they had a good ride, Brendan taking the win from Dave Weaver. The third place was much more kind of fought, so let's move to where that happened on the road. Final climb. Let's look at this. So final K, bottom to the top. What do we got there? So about 4 minutes, 40 seconds we're talking about. Just under 2 Ks, quite short. Steepish average gradient, about 6%, but quite a flat piece in the middle. Probably went to the bottom of that climb with something like 20 riders. The pace was on very strong from the start. Riders like Kate McElray, oh shit, I can't remember her name. You know what I'm talking about, Kate. Another female rider who I can't remember her name, was super strong, excellent climber. I shouldn't sound so surprised because they're super classy riders, but McElroy. But yeah, still great to see them being aggressive. They can't be easy to ride with a bunch of stinky dudes, but they do a great job of it. And riders like Tristan Thomas, Brent Backhouse making a relatively early attack at the bottom. I was marking Stuart Kilmister, Matt Webber, Kate, because they're all close to me on the GC. So that's sort of what's going on in my mind. I'm looking at the numbers that are on my stem, guys like Tristan and Becky going up, and I'm not worried about being with them because there's no real benefit to me chasing them down, dragging other guys over. I need to really watch the guys who are close to me on the GC because my GC aims to be on the podium again. What did we put out there? From the bottom to about the first flat section, 431 watts, so a solid sort of 5.5 watts per kilo for about 2 minutes and 40 seconds. A little lull on the flat, and a final, what have we got here? 20 or 30, well, I don't know, about 35 seconds or something, which was basically Dave Rowlands rolled off the front, put it into the big gear and hauled up there. I could see we had distanced all of the riders who were dangerous to me in the GC. I sat on Dave. We had a big side-by-side battle for the line. It was a lot of fun. It wasn't really important particularly for me to beat Dave. It's not really important for him particularly to beat me. When you've got two maniacs steaming up the top of a final, you're both kind of putting it out there. 34 seconds, 758 watts. It's fairly strong. And as I'll be, telling the grandkids one day, I beat Dave Rowlands. And I don't care about the circumstances. A win's a win, guys. Not actually a win, obviously, but it's kind of a win when you beat Dave Rowlands anytime. By about either 0.1 or 2 of a second or something like that. So, something like quarter of a wheel length. And I'll take that, guys. That's the kind of maniac I am. So the way it worked out, and let's just work through results in Master 2 and 3, is the controversy. What have we got here? Oh, by the way, if you're wondering what happened to Tristan Thomas and Brent Backhouse, they did really, really well. Oh, Gary Hall must have been up there as well. Gary Hall taking 4th. Oh, sorry. So what have we got here? Brendan took 1st. Dave Weber took 2nd. You already knew that. About a minute and a bit later, Brent Backhouse and Gary Hall separated by a couple of seconds. Tristan must have been sprinting it out super close with Gary Hall, 0.1 of a second. And then me, then Dave, about 1 second later. So it was like this big, big bunch of dudes sprinting for the line. Did as well as I could. Master 2, here's the controversy. Won by Hugh Buke, 2nd Rob Kilvington, 3rd Cliff Hughes. Look at Jason McCarty coming back to it. A really nice 5th there, that's good. Excellent climber. You can see these power to weight units doing well, and I think Rob Kilvington would have been a little disappointed he sprinted too early, and Hugh wound up the gear and had a sprint with who? With a guy who was relegated because he moved across the road. Matt Stevens was relegated, I think, in the end to about 4th or something. It says he's last there, but it's not really. So Matt Stevens keeping the jersey. So, I mean, in a nutshell, from what I understand, is Matt moved across the road too far. Purposely or not purposely, I have no idea. Wasn't there, didn't see it. Blocked Hugh, who thought that he was steaming through just fine for a fine victory. Hugh, sounds like rightly, made a complaint to the commissaire, and they reviewed the video, and the race organisers agreed with Hugh. That makes it real tight because Matt Stevens is still in the jersey, but Hugh, I think, is 2nd, maybe separated by 4, 5, 6 points or something. So again, coming down to the wire for the final race for the jersey. Master 3, Ian Payton was always going to be real good on a hill finish like this, and he backed it up. Again, taking about 5 seconds out of Richard Sutton. Pat Johnston, Steve O'Keefe riding real well for 11th there. And so that will mean, have I got GC points in front of me? Let's see. Yes, I do. So let's see, GC points. Brendan McGrath, unassailable in Master 1. I will try to get my fat ass onto the 2nd or the 3rd GC spot for race 5. Trying to chase down Andy, the Badger Hagen. Masters 2, Matt Stevens still in the jersey, separated by 5 points. Hugh Buke going down to the wire. Cliff Hughes from Lone Star really close as well, 63.74 down. So that's a big showdown to happen. Master 2, Ian Payton in Master 3 is on. He's unassailable on 94 points. So Ollie Ferry on 75, Richard Sutton 57, Steve O'Keefe 53. So real big battle to go on there. Even They got there on 48, Kevin Hart. So it's real tight there as well. So kind of like the only real deciding point for Master 1 is whether I can, I don't know, keep on the podium, whether Hugh can take it from Matt, Master 2, and who's going to take the podium spots with Ollie Ferry, Richard Sutton, and Steve O'Keefe from 3. Yes, and that weekend, good times, good riding. So let's have a look at the Hill Climb Time Trial, which was yesterday, lastly. For me, my data, moving time, 40 minutes, 42 seconds, about almost exactly 1 minute down on my time last year, where I took the course record. And but interestingly, my power identical. And when I say identical, my actual power this year 344, my actual power last year 345, EP this year 359, EP last year 359. So we can go as far to really saying that's identical. My power on the final climb just a little lower than last year. may have reduced my time a little on there. So last year averaging about 400 watts for the final 5 minutes or something on the climb. This year only 380 to 390. Only a little difference. So between the wind conditions, very still yesterday, minor tailwind last year. So that's where most of the time came from. Obviously the power was the same. So you can see a little tailwind versus no wind, about a minute. Most of the setup's the same. My bike's probably a little aerodynamic than last year, but it won't make much difference between the Cannondale Super 6 and the Shed 2 Riri. The Riri is a little more aero bike, but not much difference there. So all kind of the same except for that wind, maybe the power on the last climb. 1 minute slower, 20.9k, so almost 21k. We'll climb TT, that's pretty strong. 506 meters climbed, 839 kilojoules, maybe two to three hamburgers in there. 30.8 average k an hour. I told you my power before, EP of 359. And not much to say about it. I guess the one sort of learning thing that worked pretty well is that part where, you know, I've said this before, and here's the short version. Any TT course where, and it doesn't matter whether it's a hill climb or a flat or whatever, where there is a headwind or a climb, you want to reduce your time in those conditions as much as possible. So if there's a way you can understand your lactate threshold, say that's 400, understand around your VO2 max, let's say that's usually about 10% higher, 5 to 10% higher, something like that, maybe about 420. I test mine every week so I know on the dot. On those sections, assuming that those sections of headwind or climb are 3 minutes or less, you want to go VO2 max, and of course you're a little over threshold there. And as long as there's some version of events where there's a small tailwind or descent after that, 2 or 3 minutes, you can get that recovery, come back down under threshold, bring your heart rate down, and you're not in a situation where you've really burnt matches and gone completely anaerobic, and you can recover in that, so, 20, 30, 40 seconds of recovery time, whether it be a little bit of soft pedaling with a tailwind or actual descent, and it's not really going to affect your average power. Much more than that VO2 max you will, and obviously you don't want to be under. You want to reduce the time in those scenarios, and when you have a descent or a tailwind, you can afford, because of the way the physics works out, go a little more relaxed, and that's how you want to balance your efforts. And for a race like this where there's a bunch of rollers in that first sort of like 15 Ks, there's probably quite a lot of time to be had from that version of events. Look, I know that's easier said than done. You can kind of see me here do it in this first part. I mean, for the first, if we actually break this down, first, 4 minutes or so, Seeing there about 378 watts, nicely just under threshold in the drops. But look, where it comes a little bit steeper here, let me zoom in. The first roller before I descend, I know this course pretty well. Get my power boost up a little bit, and for 56 seconds I bring it to look 424 for year 2 max, boom. And then it's because here, immediately, we've got this descent, speed comes up, you can see it's a descent there, power drops off because of course it's a descent, coming there, heart rate here, drops back down to that sort of threshold level, bottom of the climb, gradually start bringing that power up over a period of about 30 seconds, and then for this next piece here, back to 411 watts for about half a minute, back into sort of some version of threshold or thereabouts, and rinse and repeat. That's a pretty good tactic. Give it a try. It kind of does take a little bit of practice and maybe a little bit of knowing the course. So if you know, because so you don't want to do this mission where you this move where you know hit it up pretty hard, you're a little bit in red zone, you know, a little bit over the red line on your tacho, and find out there actually wasn't a little descent, and it's actually a nasty little false flat or something into a headwind. You don't want to find that. So go and pre-ride the course, know where you can do that. That will make a big difference to your time. There's some, you know, if you Google people have tested this in the real world, you know, on a course like that TT, you know, there could be 30 seconds a minute in it for you just by getting that stuff right, pacing yourself because of the course. Alright, so that's the TT. I've just stitched together some rudimentary results here based on a Strava segment. The results aren't actually published yet on the website, Wellington Masters Cycling Club, but they will be, no doubt sometime today. But I've just stitched these together from a segment I made. Of course, this only includes people who have actually uploaded, but you get the idea. It's probably most of them. So I did, what did I say? 39.50. That was good. Second place, Andrew McKay, 44.41. So, assuming that he was second, which I guess he probably was, that was good, averaging about 3 or 4k an hour slower. We had some other riders there listed, but that's only riders who rode this segment on that day. They weren't actually in the race. Next rider who rode was Andrew Kerr, 50.53. Stuart Preston ripping out a real good ride, 51.05. Like, that was an excellent, I've looked at Stuart's data, really nicely paced ride. On the 11th, there's been more to Oscar Mitchell. A few other guys, Mike Gregory will be probably third or fourth or something like that, based on looking at his data. And those numbers, he's not in Strava. So probably me for the win, followed by Andrew Mackey. And probably Mike Gregory doing a good job. So that was the TT, and that's sort of some thoughts about that. Thank you to Di coming along and taking photos at the race yesterday. Thanks to Steve Orchard and Hugh Buke and the rest of the guys marshalling and putting on the race yesterday, Hill Climb Time Trial. Actually, thank you to the club for the time trial in difficult conditions 2 weeks ago as well. Next race is the Wellington Masters Cycling Club handicap road race at the Otaki circuit. After that, I think will be the maybe the weekend after that is the final of the North Islands, where what will play out in those scenarios I discussed with you before. And maybe here's my last sort of thought and feeling on the whole last couple of weeks, which is, you know, like just what I said before. I see a lot of guys, and you know, women. I just think about some of my riders and some thoughts they've expressed to me lately. And you know, bike racing's just hard in a lot of ways that other parts of life are hard. And sometimes this is not like an answer, I don't think. I mean, this is just some thoughts. You might be different, but This is not some life answer. All I'm saying is you know, like, maybe your best option, like, okay, sometimes bike racing is a little bit like not the perfect option, but the best option of playing the odds. And it's the same here, where sometimes your best option, if the race isn't going your way, or you're not feeling good or something, is just perseverance and just concentration. Have your stem notes, know your target power, refer back to it, reset. And, you know, it's kind of like Jordan Peterson would say, it's not about having some overarching answer to a problem. It's about, you know, play the odds. You know, go clean your room. And on that bombshell. Oh, by the way, shouldn't have put this right in at the end, but here we go. Tried a product called CrampFix, Cramp, F-I-X. You get it, that's from Zero 22 Sports, ZERO TWENTY 2 sports.co.nz, worst URL ever. If you go there, you can buy the Tailwind stuff that I use in my bottles, right? And I've talked to you about it before, and they're very supportive of me, and Mark Drew and Tailwind are really supportive, and I thank them hugely, and I always like to sort of endorse this stuff on the basis that, you know what, if they said, Steve, you're a douche, and wanted to have nothing to do with me ever again, I would still go and buy their product, because it's just good. So I kind of like that notion. Biomaxer as well, the same biomaxer.co.nz. Use Steve Bale Fit Lab as your code, 10% off, free shipping. But, so CrampFix, it's a little, well, it came to me as a little gel. I think you can get it in a bottle as well. But anyway, like, it's like a miniature half-size energy gel looking packet, and you keep this in your pocket for insurance. Here's how I used it. You can use it different ways. Here's how I use it for insurance if you get cramp. So I was secretly hoping maybe on Saturday I'd cramp, so then I'd have a chance to test it. Well, as luck would have it, going up Dreyer's Rock Road on the return, where it's quite important, I was putting in a strong effort, hoping to break up the bunch a bit, and when you know it, left hamstring, cramp. It's like, all right. Ripped out the sachet, tore it open, put it down, saw what happened. Now, first thing to get out of the way, you'll discover this. It tastes like, I would say, it's like having a big swig of nasty vinegar, except it's infinitely worse than that. That's what it's like, but here's the plus side. Oh, by the way, no matter how much lemon or Coke flavour they put in with, it's not taking that away from you. But here's the thing, cramp gone, and I'd say 90 seconds to 120 seconds, like a minute and a half to 2 minutes. So here's what I did, nailed it down, bit of water to chase it, still had some of the climb to go. So and it's like I sort of came back to the bunch, let my legs relax a little bit, and you know there's that thing where if you cramp, often what happens is you can sort of make it go away a bit, but then it's sort of, you know, as soon as you put the power on again, it's sort of going to come back, and you're not really sure if it's going to go full retard or not on you. Well, the CrampFix, after I took it, it did not come back, and it didn't even do that little twinge or anything. It just went. Now, here's what I'll say is, I know this is known as a sample group of one, but yeah, there's two things. It has a good basis for efficacy, meaning a scientific body of evidence that has a decent hypothesis around which this should work. You can go and read about it on the website. That I like. And there's another product around there. Yeah, get it on, guys. Sorry about the abrupt end to the bit where I was talking about the CrampFix, but yeah, that's because my audio cut out. Doesn't matter. Here's what you're going to do. Go to 022sports.co.nz. You're going to enter the code. Well, click on CrampFix. Have a look. See if I'm not describing it wrong. And you're going to go and put in capitals FitLab 10, FITLAB capitals 10. get 10% discount on your order. And for insurance against cramp, I think it's not bad. I'd give it a try. Tell me what you think. All right, thanks guys. FitLab10 022sports.co.nz. Good times.